Creativity is an addiction. Unplugged because we will always say yes to creativity. Totally Uncut because we all make mistakes. So turn it into a tool. This is Arroe Unplugged.
Hey, it's Arroe, and this is Vocal Defrag, asking the questions and then questioning the answers. We usually do the vocal defrag while I'm on a transition walk. A transition walk is taking a walk through this beautiful forest, and I wish you could hear the beautiful music. Even though the temperature is barely 43 degrees, it's been raining all night. It's even raining even as we speak. But you still can't stop yourself from doing the transition walk because it is my mission. It is my goal. It is my calling to understand the transitions, to study the transitions, to know how it moves through each and every one of us. And so when we do a vocal defrag, we're breaking down everything that is taking place. Ask the questions, question the answers. Heavy subject today. The subject, as we walk through this day before Easter, is the storms that we move through in order to get to. The storms that we move through in order to get to. There's not a soul on this planet that doesn't move through mental storms. Everybody goes through them. We all just digest them differently. And we seek a lot of professional help in order to understand what that storm was about. Some people use those storms as keys to awareness and or to rebuilding or replenishing their personal lives. But we all go through storms. You can do everything you can to push it away. It'll keep coming back. It just does that because storms have a mind of their own, and storms have the strength to turn everything that you own into something that's being washed away by a creek on a rainy day, the day before Easter. But the storms that we move through in order to get to. My question to you would be, where are you trying to grow? Where is that destination that you're trying to reach? And what are the storms that are standing in the way? Not walls, not mountains, storms. We can walk through storms. I'm living proof of that right now because I'm walking through a rainstorm right now. And I know that my destination is to take this transition walk. But in your own personal life, the question is, where are you trying to get to? That's like asking somebody, so what's your favorite song? Who's your favorite artist? And if you only knew how many people look at me and they go, I don't know. You know, I guess I'm old because I grew up in the tail end of the Beatles becoming solo performers. The Rolling Stones are still around. I went through the Bee Gees. I've been surrounded by the most incredible music. And if somebody were to say, what is your favorite song? I could answer that question. But it seems like people today can't answer that question, which takes me right back to where are you trying to grow? What is the destination that you would like to see yourself in? And I think sometimes the reason why we don't answer is because we're all rolling the dice. We want to see if we can get the lucky 7. We want to make sure that we get the snake eyes. We're rolling the dice. I have a very good friend who became a manager at the essential job that I show up for. And his roll of the dice was he was leaving the food industry to take up a job at a grocery store. He had no clue. It was a roll of the dice. And to this day, even though the two of us have worked together in this store for a couple of years now, he still says, I don't know if this was the right decision. But he's not making the move. He's not making the choices to find that place. So the storms that we move through to get to, what is your to? And the question would be, how are you going to get there? How are you going to move through the storm? And what happens if the storm intensifies? It reminds me of a story about a martial artist who would stand on the top of his house every time the wind would blow in these storms. And the reason why is because he solely believed in what's called the front stance. And he wanted to make sure that his front stance was unbelievably strong. So he would stand on his roof during a windstorm to test his strength. What sort of tools do you use to test your personal strength? What is that one part of your mind, body, and soul that you go to when the storms get a little bit too much to handle? Do you retreat? Do you race to get home? I fall into a gigantic notebook full of writing. I have so many frickin' journals because I'm asking the questions and I'm questioning the answers. I do have a lot of storms, and I openly admit that I'm willing to listen to your storm. The storm doesn't have to last the entire time. You are in the power of choice. And the question is, what is your choice of recovery? If we're going to move through the storm to get to, what is your choice of recovery? What are you trying to improve? I get it. I might as well be asking you, what is your favorite song? Because I'm still getting the glossy-eyed look. What are you trying to do? How are you trying to heal? What is the recovery time? Is it worth replenishing? The questions are there. Are you asking yourself those questions? You know, some people would say, well, you're just setting yourself up for something bad to happen. Not true at all. Not true at all. I was doing some research today on the fear of being fearful. Have you ever heard of that? It's called phobia. The fear of fearing. So a lot of people don't make changes in their life for the positive or even for the bad, because you have to have bad choices in order to measure out what your good choices are. But the fear of being fearful is very real. And you have to understand that fear is an instinct. You need fear in life when it comes to being aware of what could bring harm or some sort of pain to your life. It's okay to have fear. But the thing is, though, and I've heard this from so many people, and you may have said it too, I've become numb to. Oh, the word numb. Oh, yeah. Man, everything that's happening in the headlines, I'm just numb now. I'm thinking we should do everything we can to get back into a level of fear so that we can be aware of what really does bother us. Because if we're going to be numb, then what is the reaction? And are we bringing injury to ourselves? Now, I'm not a professional here. I only study so that I can learn about. And when you learn about, you're moving toward. Moving through the storms to get to. Answering the question, questioning the answers. I'll tell you one of the things that I fear, and I'm just being open and transparent with you. I fear being spotted at a grocery store. What? Oh yeah, 43 years of broadcasting on terrestrial radio. I host these amazing podcasts, and I fear someone's going to come in and go, hey, what are you doing at a grocery store? I have an answer, and I do fear that answer being received, because the answer that I have is, I've never been in front of real people before. Sure, when I'm out doing promotions for the radio station, sure, when I'm out there, wearing the mask of an on-air radio talent, yeah, I'm that guy. I can handle people. But when you're yourself, and you're there to study the habits of yourself with other people, there's a lot of fear. It's the fear of being accepted. The fear of being enjoyed, because you try to share stories. You try to make a connection. Being in radio, we envision people being the listeners. We envision. They're not there with us. We envision it. But at a grocery store, you're right there in front of me. And we have conversations. Sometimes too deep, sometimes not deep enough. A man was standing next to me yesterday, and he was telling me that his business failed and that he was in really deep pain. He explained that the reason why his pain was so strong was because he invested so much of his personal money in this business, and there was no way for there to be a recovery. And the reason why is because the competition became too strong. He looked at me as if he trusted me. In radio, I wouldn't have had that opportunity. I would have feared such a conversation without seeing somebody's eyes. Or like I said on my podcast yesterday, Zoom is a great tool, but it's not the texture of the conversation. As foolish as it may sound, moving through the storm, my mental storm, I don't want to be here. Oh my God, you mean I like being comfortable inside my studio. The sound is perfect. I get to talk with people who are very creative. And now you want to put me at a grocery store? Why am I doing this to myself? See, moving through the mental storm to get to. Okay, last night I had to get to that man who is filled with so much fear. And you could feel that he wasn't happy with the decisions that he had made about his business, because he had no idea what his future was going to handle. He didn't know how to get to what he needed to do. So he was feeling a lot of fear. On Facebook, Instagram, as well as Twitter, I read a lot of your stories about what's going on at your place of business. I see the mental storms right there on the page, and as positive as you would like to try to do, or maybe you're just trying to relieve yourself from the pain that you're feeling, I have to go back to the original question. What is your two? I see your storm. You're moving through it, but where are you moving to? In other words, what is the solution? What is the goal, the ambition, the dream? What is it that you think you're missing in life, that you think that you've got to have, when in reality, I read about this today doing my studies. The reason why so many people live in their past, because they think their past is greater than where they are right now. No, that is not true. You are certain that it happened because you have a better understanding of why things happen. But the reason why you don't like being in your moment of now is because it's uncertain. It's undisciplined. It creates that fear, and it creates moments in your heart where you're going, I don't know what to do. I can't plan this out. Whereas when you live in your past, it's already been written. It's like reading a book. Can you hear the rain? It's raining hard in this forest. This storm I'm moving through while walking up Heartbreak Hill, I'm trying to get to. And I challenge you to locate your two. Moving through the storms to get to. Ask the questions, question the answers. I'm Arroe, and that's Vocal Defrag.